Welcome to Lanisha's Life Lessons in Lattes. You are now tuned into episode 5, The Dutiful Shift of Now. I am Lanisha Porter of LanishaPorter.com and also the author of Maximizing Her. Maximizing Her was released earlier this year under my own publishing company, Porter Print and Publishing Co. This book talks, thank you girl, this book largely talks about lessons surrounding tradition, legacy, and life as we young women know it. This is a devotional to my unborn daughter. And so this Life Lessons in Lattes is centered around these chapters. And I am joined by a very special guest, and we're going to get into chapter 5, The Dutiful Shift of Now. Dominai, thank you so much for being here with us.
You're welcome. Thank you for having me.
I couldn't think of anybody else that I would want on here. When I think of someone that's a boss, entrepreneur, just a womanpreneur on the go who's owning it, you are it, ma'am.
Thank you.
Tell us, I know how fabulous you are. Go ahead and tell the people how fabulous Posh Doomz is.
Y'all listen, I ain't nobody. I'm regular.
Lies.
Y'all. How y'all doing? My name is Dominai. I am the owner of Posh Doomz, a women's online boutique specialized in vintage clothing and affordable fashion. Sizes small to 3X, but we can, personal shop, personal style. I'm also a stylist, so that's my baby. I would like to get a little bit away from the boutique aspect of it, only because styling has become something that's been the heart of what I really want to do. Ultimately, making people feel good, but a focus of young women, because that's who I do it for. But
you also said you're expanding into men's clothing at the beginning of this year. Well, the beginning of 2020.
Yes, so I'm getting a little bit deeper into men's vintage clothing, only because, for one, men's vintage clothing is so amazing. There's so many pieces that I've come across that will never see the light of day because I keep them for myself. Yes. I go straight to the men's section in the Goodwill. Fun fact, yeah, you ain't know. But then my friends, they are very heavy in the fashion industry or just, overall dressing. So I wanted to do something that I know that they can not only support, but also, be like my walking billboard. So,
yes. So Posh Doomz is here with us. I will make sure that we can leave your website and your information on how to contact you and shop with you. Definitely on this video.
Absolutely.
All right. So Chapter 5, The Dutiful Shift of Now. The first 4 chapters of my book, we focus on, the aspects of, womanhood in terms of love and romantic relationship. Mm-hmm. But then chapter 5 is the part of the book where I branch out and I start talking about, the tradition and the legacy that you want to leave behind, which I think is super important to think about when you're young in your prematurity, so that you have the advantage of time helping you get stronger and appreciate in those strengths. Right. But in order to know where you're going, you have to stop and think about, where do I want to go? Mm-hmm. All right? So in chapter 5, that's what this is. The dutiful shift of now. When you think of the term that I have coined, the dutiful shift of now, what came to your mind?
Honestly, the first thing that came to mind was purpose and quick.
Okay.
Like, don't wait.
Don't wait.
No, don't wait.
Okay.
You gotta find your purpose, but when you find it, you're gonna have to hit it, because you've already wasted so much time. And I don't even want to call it wasted time, but you've already experienced all this life up until this point. But it's now you've had your your come to Jesus moment, and you're like, okay, well, this is my purpose. Let me hop to it.
For sure. And when I wrote the book, I wrote it with that intention. And in the book, I actually defined the dutiful shift of now as this: a self-proclaimed moral obligation to pursue every moment with the assumption it can maximize opportunities for your posterity. So taking the accountability, the responsibility to say, you know what, right now is my shift with my life. I'm going to use it to open as many doors as I can for the ones that are going to come after me, the ones that are linked to me by biology, the ones that are going to be linked to me through destiny. And so before we even jump into it, because we're going to talk and we're going to, as I said earlier, the shortest distance between any 2 points is a straight line. So we're going to shoot straight.
Straight shooter.
But I want to be prayerful that what we are saying can be organized and conveyed in such a way that it really inspires people to think about the life, the legacy that they're leaving for the people that are going to come after them.
Absolutely.
So I would like to take a moment and just pray.
Okay.
You don't mind?
Not at all.
Dear Father God, we pray that today you may use us, that you may give us the holy utterance to guide our thoughts, guide our words, guide this discussion in such a way that can be helpful to those who are listening, Lord God. We pray that you may open up our hearts, open up our minds, so that we can be thoughtful of the works that we are doing with our life, Lord God. Allow us to think beyond the present, to think beyond our comfort, and think about what the future will hold. In Jesus' name we pray. Amen.
Amen.
All right. So I wanted to do that because we're going to get into some very sensitive things.
Okay.
All right. So let's just jump right in. For me, when I really had a very conscious moment and I began to think of the dutiful shift of now, what in the world am I doing with my life? And is what I'm doing beneficial to those that are going to come after me? When I got into that mindset, I was forged to think like that by way of college.
Mm-hmm.
College for me, I went to Manhattanville College in Purchase, New York, Westchester County, and it is a very small, intimate, private liberal arts school. And you visited me, yeah, so you know.
Yes.
And that was the first time that I had ever seen privilege up close.
Mm.
You know, coming from the West End of Louisville, a disenfranchised, zip code, you often meet families and people like you that come from like situations.
Mm-hmm.
So you don't, your disadvantages aren't really highlighted because it's the norm. Everyone's struggling. But when I went away to college, that was the first time that my lack of privilege was highlighted in such a way that I was like, oh my goodness.
Yeah.
Where did I come from and why did I not come from where they came from?
Right.
And I will give you an instance that comes to mind. So for me, when I got my first credit card, I was responsible for it. I got my first credit card at the age of 18 and I was solely responsible for it, and paying it off every month. And I did great for 2 years, had a 750 credit score. Mm. But then I remember, I think it was my second year in college, I went to school with a girl who ran up a $2,000 credit card bill. And she was telling me about it. And I said, oh my goodness, what did your mom do? She said, oh, she paid it off and told me don't do it again.
What?
And I was like,
don't
what?
Do it again.
Your mom just paid off your $2,000 credit card bill of frivolous and thoughtless spending. I could never get away with something like that. Mm-mm. I mean, my dad's gonna help me, be like, here go 100.
Yeah, I'm gonna get some help, but they're gonna be like, all right.
So
that's it.
For me, when I saw that in college, that's when it became real to me that, all right, people come from different privileges, mm-hmm. from different backgrounds, mm-hmm. and some people have that support, that structure where they can call home and say, hey, I blew through $2,000. Can you fix it for me? Yeah. I didn't come from that. Yeah. And that's what made me realize, what type of situation am I going to put my kids in mm-hmm. 20, 30 years down the line? Will they be able to lean on me for that type of financial support if push ever came to shove? Yeah. That was the moment for me that really made me start thinking about the dutiful shift of now. What moment was it for you that made you start thinking about your purpose and the life you're going to leave behind for your kids?
It would probably have to be in 2014 when I started researching, and that's a whole nother story for a whole nother day. That's a whole nother story. But when I started researching for my business, that I realized I wanted more. Like, I was dating somebody and we were talking about all the things that we wanted to provide for not only the life that we wanted to live, but the family that we were planning to have together. So it's just like, we were trying to get this upper echelon lifestyle that we were used to seeing. It was so much of a change that, we lived in Shively, but we wanted to be out in the East End all the time. And by East End, I mean like Oxmoor, We wanted to be out that way all the time. It was just a good feeling. Seeing all that, especially around Christmas time and things like that. We always wanted to be Oxmoor Mall, St. Matthews area, just all things East Louisville.
Yeah.
So, and it's nothing wrong, and hear me, there's nothing wrong with any part of town, but as you know, there are different places that are not even necessarily safer, but there's just different vibes at different areas. So, the vibe that we were looking for and we felt that we gravitated towards was out that way, and that's kind of where our mindset change came.
Yeah.
Seeing different things, you know, seeing luxury cars, because I mean, you don't see in the West End and Shobley, and you know, you don't typically see, you know, a BMW driving down the street, and if you do, you typically associate that with a drug dealer. And I mean, that's just what it is.
Or someone that's getting
or
it
somebody
illegally.
who's getting it illegally. And I'm not saying that our people cannot get that legally. Yeah. So don't take me out of context. No, you spit in some real,
and you know, of course, people will see this and they'll try to categorize, you know, try to say what they think we're implying. But the truth of the matter is, if you ask any person, everybody's going after the American dream. You want the family, you want the financial security, you want the land, you want the freedom, you want that peace of mind.
Absolutely.
And definitely, when you have to worry about stray bullets, when you have to deal with noise pollution, when you deal with just the optics, you know, of the trash laying around, it makes a huge difference of the maintenance in the communities. And you do find out east, or the further you go, especially when you're going east of 9th Street, you find that, you know, chances are better, opportunities are higher, crime lower. So I definitely agree with what you're saying. All right. Let's see. When did you realize, I talked about credit in my situation in college. I realized in college that having good credit was the crown jewel of good finances. When did you realize how important credit was, good credit was?
Okay, so I am 28 years old. I just moved out of my mother's house 2 years ago. And my credit's still new. So I'm still working on that. I don't have a credit card. I don't have any credit cards. I don't have, like, there's some things that I pay on just to build my credit. Yeah. But I'm still learning that portion for myself. So I really can't weigh in too heavy on that.
Okay.
Only because of the life that I had. My family is very providing. I'm spoiled.
Speak to that, because lay it out and show people, because I do want to highlight how important it is. The works of one generation, I truly believe the labors of the previous generation provides the lifestyle for the next.
Yeah, absolutely.
The labors of your life will buy your children their life.
Absolutely. And
speak to the privileges that you've been afforded.
With my mother, my grandparents, my entire family, my aunts, my uncles, they've always just sewn into me. So a lot of times when people were going out and getting credit cards, I didn't need to do that. I could just call up, hey, granddaddy, I need XYZ for, I need this amount of money for whatever I'm trying to do. And I'm also, even though I'm very spoiled, on my 16th birthday, the first thing I did, I went to Target and I filled out an application because I wanted to work. Like, I wanted to make my own money. So it's not far-fetched to be a brat and have a hustler's mentality.
Right.
Because I could sell salt to a snail, okay?
Okay. Who said that? Okay, Cassidy.
Period. But I'm really serious though. So I feel like, in a way, it has crippled me. And now at 28, I am learning how to readjust to that. And it's been a rocky road, but now I'm in a career and I have my business that I'm able to do that. And I still have the support of my family to help me along the way.
Okay, great. I'm very glad we have your perspective here, because now I'm going to give the contrast to that. I'm definitely, I'm spoiled within the means that my family has been able to provide. but you cannot teach what you do not know.
Right, absolutely.
And for me, I come from a family that I would say politely is underdeveloped in knowing a lot of information. So when it came to credit, you know, I was in college paying bills that did not belong to me, because it's like, when you come from struggle, let me organize this correctly. When you come from struggle, I don't think you really have the luxury of thinking so far ahead.
Mm-hmm.
You are in survival mode. You are literally living minute to minute, hour to hour, trying to figure out what is the best way you're going to get ahead just for today.
Right.
And oftentimes that means someone who is in the better situation, who is the stronger candidate, carrying the burden of the whole family unit.
Mm-hmm.
For me, I was that person that had the shoulders to kind of carry that struggle. I had the best credit.
Mm-hmm.
I had the credit card. So when family didn't have it, it was like, well, Lanisha, we can lean on her.
Mm-hmm.
What I didn't know, I didn't have a healthy boundary of saying no.
Mm.
And so it wasn't that I think that my family was trying to say, well, let's sink her and let's compromise her future. But it was saying, you are the best candidate to help us out right now. Can you carry this bill? And before you know, I kept doing that, and I put myself in a situation that was not conducive to success.
Mm-hmm.
Right now, I'm still recovering from, you know, carrying the family.
Right.
And so for me, what I have learned, obviously, having good credit is the crown jewel of good finance. You can't do anything without good credit. Honey, you cannot do anything without good credit. So if I wish I was taught anything, I wish from a very early age, before 18, when I was even introduced to credit, I wish that in 5th grade, they were drilling into me how to build a great credit profile. I wish that I was being taught about how to invest in property. I wish that I had the cheat codes.
As a kid.
I wish I had, you know, the cheat codes and the master tools to navigate a system that literally has been set up for you not to succeed. All right? And now there is a program in which we're both a part of called Master Builders. We will drop the link to that below, in which they do teach these principles, and they do help financially developed people, developing businesses.
Yes.
All right. So for me, that's what I realized. And I just think that's a generational unpreparedness. I know so many people, especially like in the Black community, that put bills in their kids' names.
That's so ghetto. Don't do that, y'all. Don't be ruining these babies' credits, their future before they even get a chance. Like, why does little Ray Ray, who's 5, got cable in his name? First of all, why do the companies even allow that? There should be some type of, you know, pre-screen that has to be done. That's not. No, don't do that to your babies. If you love your babies, nurture their credit. And I think we have to, it's really hard because I don't want to be tone deaf. I understand that our people who are disenfranchised and marginalized, they are in survival mode. Yeah, absolutely.
But we cannot keep sacrificing the futures of our youth to satisfy the mistakes of the people that had their shift to get it right. That makes me so upset.
Absolutely.
And even more something that I've learned to think about more critically. Let me gather my thought because it definitely slipped away. Something else that I've seen done in the Black community that I think we're horrible at, exploiting our youth as soon as they're able to earn a wage. We see kids turn 16, get that first job, and then parents are like, all right, you need to pay me rent, you need to pay for groceries, you need to contribute to the household. And I think that is a very widespread way in which youth are set back, or they are deprived of a way to build, because as soon as they're earning wages, they're being taught, all right, it's time for you to start giving back.
Right.
I have a good friend who just bought a house, and in conversation, I think she told me she was able to save $20,000 or more. Our age, 1 year older than me, $20,000 just in her bank account. And I went to $20,000. And when I asked her, how were you able to do that? She was very honest in saying it's because of her parents. Her parents set up that structure for her to win. Car was brought and paid for in full. Car insurance taken care of. No overhead. Mom let her stay. And so when I saw that, that really inspired me. I was like, all right, I'm going to make sure my kid has that same head start.
And that's what I would like to do.
Because can you imagine how far we would be? I think millennials would get so hard on ourselves thinking, I'm not working hard enough. I mean, I know people working 3 jobs, monopolizing every single available hour that they have, and they are still not getting ahead.
Yeah.
But the truth of the matter is, if you are not connected to a baby boomer or someone who is financially stable, you are going to struggle. Like for me, though I don't come from a load of privileges, some things that I can be grateful for is dad pays phone bill. I don't have to worry about phone bill.
Oh, that's beautiful.
Dad takes care of health insurance. So I don't have to have an extra $60 or $80 coming out of my check because dad is generous enough to have maintained a career long enough for me to be carried on his plan.
Right.
So even privileges like that, I'm super grateful for.
Absolutely.
And it saves me, something.
Yeah.
But imagine being able to allow your kid before they leave the nest to walk out with $30,000.
And I think that just speaks back to, generational preparedness. Because I just want to say my mother did not make me go get that job. I just wanted to, I've always seen my mother work hard. So I wanted to get out there, make my own money. I'm 28, y'all. A year before I moved out is when she finally started having me give her something. And it was just because I'm living in your house. I got this good job. There's no reason I couldn't, contribute. And even when I was giving her $100 a month. Yeah. That's it.
Which in adult money is like $20.
Oh my goodness. First of all, I mean, when I'm moving out and seeing, wow, I was just giving $100. That don't sound that bad right now.
Yeah.
But it's just like she put me in a position to win, and she realizes that. And she always tells me, if I ever hit a hard space, she's just like, I've crippled you so much. Now I gotta undo that. So it's just like she was like, I hate to be hard on you, but I gotta, you gotta grow up. And since she's put her foot down, I've become so much more aggressive in my funds, making sure I'm doing what I need to do. Because if I don't pay that rent, guess who ain't got nowhere to stay? Me. If I don't pay XYZ, I ain't got it. I ain't got it, sis. So I'm grateful.
Good for mom.
And my grandparents just
and
grandparents.
So what I'm saying is, definitely I would like to implore everyone to think about, am I setting my kids up to win? Yeah. Am I charging them an arm and a leg to stay at home? Because if they weren't staying there, you were going to have to figure it out anyway. So what's the point in crippling your child? I mean, I understand everybody has to survive. Yeah. But Black people, we have it the worst. Yeah. Putting our kids, digging our kids in a ditch, and then telling them, find your way to get out.
Now figure it out.
All right? So, very toxic thing that I would like to see change. And what other ways have you seen generational unpreparedness?
I would dare say, expecting, just because I took this path, expecting my child to take that path. And I don't want that for my child. I didn't go to college, but if my child wants to go to college, I support what your children want to do. And that's one thing I can say I'm so fortunate to have had is, at first when I went to school because that's what my grandfather wanted. He wanted me to go to college. And I was just like, okay. And fresh out of high school, I was excited to do that. But it was just like, at first, I was like, I'm going up. And then it was just like life. And I was just like, school is not, go to school if you want to. Yeah. Let me put that out there. But personally, I was just like, I'm doing this. I ended up doing it for the wrong reasons. So if you do anything for the wrong reasons, with that being your passion, you're not going to succeed. And I did not succeed because I wasn't passionate about it. It wasn't something I wanted to do. So I think that's something that parents need to start, being a little bit more open about. Okay, college isn't for you, but what are you going to do? I will say you need to set the parameters of you got to do something. You can't not do nothing. But if school isn't your thing, okay, do you want to go to nail school? Do you want to go to hair school? Do you want to start a business? A skill set. You have to learn something. I wrote a paper a while ago when I was in school, and I did my research. At one point in time, they were contemplating asking, and I don't know, they may even still be doing it now, asking for high school diplomas and college degrees to do McDonald's. And I was just like, what? For minimum wage? What?
Well, I know people, it's crazy now, people with masters are making far below what they should.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, the economy's crazy.
And where I work now, it's really strange. One thing I will say, I work in corporate America, and I have a great job. And I'm in there with people that have double master degrees and things of that nature. And then when they find out I don't have a degree, they're almost upset because they're like, how'd you make it here? And I feel like I don't need the degree to be successful. It's in me. That's who I am.
Yes.
I can outwork all of your credentials. It doesn't matter. Period. And I'm not knocking those that went to school. My sister's a freshman at UK. Me and her are complete opposites. Like, that's her thing. She excels in the classroom. That's her thing. So I'm supporting that because that's what she does. I do what I do with my career, my business, and she supports that. Yeah. That's our paths. So I think
I love it. And one way that I think that, we can ease that generational unpreparedness is if you don't know, because sometimes, as I said, people can't see what they don't know, but you can be intentional and motivated about connecting your child to networks that offer practical and pragmatic information.
Yeah.
Sometimes we don't succeed, or we don't have upward mobility in society because we simply don't know. We don't know those networks to tap into. Like us, we know master builders. There's so many people that we can connect with, learn from. You learn about things that aren't advertised elsewhere. But I think that's super important, especially just networking, getting your child connected into those networks so that they can have real information, so that their seeds of ambition and promise may bear real fruit. So in what ways are you bridging the achievement gap, either in your family or your community?
Well, as far as my family goes right now, it's just me. I'm single. I'm not a mother. So my mom has already, set the tone for me and my sister. So it's kind of like, all right, so what's your plan? Like right now I got a 5-year plan I'm working on. I'm trying to get my savings real hefty. Okay. I want to travel. I want to see the world. So honestly, right now, my biggest thing for myself is my savings and just financial freedom altogether.
Okay, but speak to that, because people hear savings and they're like, all right, I'm going to take this flight, buy these red bottoms to post on Instagram, go crazy on Fashion Nova, and then I'm going to save that $30 into my savings account. But if I need it, I'm going to dip back over, and then, you feel me, just do that draft and carry that, how do we prevent against that?
I used to do that. Okay, when I first started in my career, I had a set amount going to my savings, and I wouldn't touch it because I was living with my mother. I didn't have to. So my savings was nice. Car broke down, cleared me out. Fine.
Happens.
And from that point, since then, it's just kind of been downhill. But now I'm finally back on track. And every paycheck I get, I put $100 away. And I make decent money. I probably could put more away.
Yeah.
But with me in the position that I am, I feel like that's doable for me.
Yeah.
So I put $100 away, and I tell myself, listen, don't touch it. Do not touch it. You don't have to. You don't need it. You got all this other play money. You got some cash to play with. What helps me is if I pull cash out, because once I start breaking them 50s and them 20s, I'm like, hold on. Once I see it go, that's when I'm like, all right, chill. But if I'm swiping or transferring or paying with my phone, it's a wrap. So I've learned to, you know, like I got a $50 bill. I'm kind of holding on to it because I'm like, all right, do you really want to break this 50 over something silly?
Yes.
So that
real discipline. You have to develop real ways that you can be disciplined and not really feel like you're depriving yourself. Because I once saw on the Steve Harvey show, there was a budget specialist, and she said, don't give up the Starbucks. Don't give up, you know, the Friday night pizza nights. She said,
everything in moderation.
All things in moderation was basically her point. Because if you can't even treat yourself to $7 treats, you feel like, okay, what am I living for?
Right, yeah.
So all things in moderation and just having that discipline.
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay. And for me, if I had to pose the same question to myself, you know, in what ways do I feel like I'm bridging the gap, you know, of achievement in my family or in my community? I would say I am not a first generational attendee of college, but I am a first generational graduate. Okay. So I think for me, that set the tone. My big brother has always gone before me to clear the path, open up the doors. So in elementary school, I followed him. Middle school, I followed him. High school, I followed him. And he was just a great person that was blazing a trail for me. But when he got to college, kind of much like you, he found like this wasn't really my thing. And he didn't really feel like he needed a degree to certify him to do what he wanted to do. So for me, I was the first person in my family to graduate with a college degree. And I think for me that, if nothing else, it gave me that esteem to show my nieces, my nephews, my little cousins, like, you can do it. Sometimes when you have a lack of representation of success in your family, you feel like, well, is it even in me? Are those seeds of greatness, or, you know, that thread of achievement, is that something that I can actually reach, or is it just put in some special people and sprinkled around the world, and it's not in my family? But I think with doing that, I was able to set the bar of, you know, you can definitely do it. Absolutely. And a lot of times, it's not that I was smarter than anybody else in the classroom. It's just much like you. I could outwork anybody. One thing you won't do is outwork me.
You will not.
So that's one way in which, you know, in my family, I've bridged the gap of achievement. But also just in more practical ways, declaring better for myself, much like you. I would say another way that I've been successful in achieving, you know, bridging the gap in my community is through my constant work of like Urban Girls Rock and giving back. I think that, I mean, so many young women have approached me over the past few years and said, you know, I want to do the same thing. How can I start? And sometimes a lot of people, they have this idea of, I'm too young, or, you know, I don't have the money, I don't have the resources, so I can't begin right now. And I think for me, I've been, you know, intentional about sitting down one-on-one with those girls, because I know how it feels to want to start something but not have access to pragmatic information or instruction to do it. And so I think that's one way in which I've been able to bridge that gap.
One thing, I was going to say the same exact thing. One thing I learned is, in this process, I wish I would have started sooner. So when a girl tells me I'm too young to do this, I'm like, no, you the right age. Yes, if you start now, you could be a millionaire. Like, all the time that I spent, everything that I've done leading up to this point, had I started this maybe 10 years ago, y'all wouldn't be able to do nothing with me. And I feel like I'm accomplishing things now, but I feel like looking back, and of course hindsight is always 2020, baby. But looking back, I feel like I had so many resources, so much money I just fumbled, that I could have been taking that money and all the different dreams and things that I planned out to do. Had I did it sooner, and that I would have been unstoppable. And I'm unstoppable now, hear me. But if I would have started sooner. So, you know, I get into the mentoring. I deal heavily with the church mentor programs. I deal heavily with the community. You know, when I do a lot of these shows, the shows that I do, I pick them because of the reasoning behind the show, or who can be reached. Because ultimately, if you go look on my website, my very first blog post talks about why I do this. It's for the young girls. I want if you look good, you feel good. And if I encounter you, I'm gonna be able to talk to you, I'm going to be able to encourage you, and before you leave my shop or my office, whatever we're doing, you're going to feel good about yourself.
And I think the powerful thing is this. I love Oprah. And she said that she was talking to Maya Angelou one time. And I think she said something to her about building a legacy. And Maya Angelou told Oprah, she said, child, hush. You don't know what your legacy is going to be, because every single person that you meet is your legacy. And you will never know the ripple effect that your interaction with them will continue to have day after day, moment after moment, throughout this entire lifetime. So there's no way to measure what your legacy is going to be. And what I find so special about what you just said is you nurturing these women and allowing them to have that confidence about themselves. Is imagine 15, 20 years down the line, somebody says, oh, I'm Dominai Ford's daughter. Do you know what your mother did for me back in my day? I remember when she styled me when I was going through that bad divorce. I remember when she styled me when I was contemplating suicide. That is the power of building a legacy that your kids can benefit from.
Absolutely.
To this day, I walk into rooms, and when I tell people I'm Daryl Porter's daughter, it's like they stop and they just admire the fact that I am connected to this man because of the good works he has done with his life. My dad is not prominent on any scale in terms of riches or fortune, but when you think of his moral goodness and his decency and just his reliability, everyone honors that man for how upright he is.
That's beautiful.
And I'm more than proud to be his heir. And so with you assuming the dutiful shift of now and taking your craft seriously, you are doing the same thing that you don't even know for your own kids down the line.
And that in itself, like, when you say that, it actually takes me back to a couple women that had came into my shop, and like they were shopping, but you could tell just the energy was off, and they normally weren't like that. So then it turned into like a therapy session. And, you know, I didn't realize what the ministry of presence, that is something that is so, so important. And just me being there at the right place at the right time, even though they came to shop with me, it was just like, you know, to this day we talk about that. And she always thanks me. And now she has her own business. So to see that is just like, you know, like I thrive on what makes me feel good is making others feel good. So if I could talking to you, speaking to you, I'm gonna do that thing. Like, cause why not?
Why not?
Why not? It's so easy to be nice. It's free to show love. Do it. I love people. My heart is for the people. So if I can sow into somebody else, I just told someone actually in the office, if I have the ability to be a stepping stone for somebody, why wouldn't I be? Because when I first started out, I didn't pay for a single piece of furniture to go in my store. People were just like, do you need this? Do you need this? Just based off of how I've treated people. So it's just like, I treat you right because that's the right thing to do, but it also makes me feel good to make you feel good.
And the beautiful thing is, the power of your good works will open up doors for those connected to you.
Absolutely. There's been so many opportunities that's come from me doing free work. And I just want to put this out here for any entrepreneurs. I've been saying this for a very long time. Do not turn your nose up at exposure. Do not turn your nose up at free work. Do not turn your nose up at somebody who's not willing to pay you, because every opportunity is not going to come with a paycheck. And I'm going to tell you right now, I just did a New York Fashion Week show based off of the exposure that people hate. All the exposure that I got, I ended up doing that show. Something happened where the show ended up, everything ended up being free. My flight got reimbursed. My show got reimbursed. Everything happens for a reason. So it's just like, I see so many people complain daily about that. And it's just like, it's not just the shift. You got to have a mindset shift. It's not always about the money. Like, if you not out here hustling, you're not always going to get. Every show that I've done in Louisville, I've never been paid for it, ever. And I don't do it for the money because I'm passionate about it. You don't got to pay me. If I'm passionate about it, you don't got to pay me because the check gonna come.
Yes.
So.
And you're right. The dutiful shift of now is a mindset.
It's a mindset.
It's a mindset. And you have to be willing to let go of habits.
Mm-hmm.
You have to be willing to go against the grain. You have to be willing to see what's not yet there.
Yeah. Ooh.
You know?
We can talk about that, but that might get into chapter what? What chapter was that? The one that I wanted. Because
that's probably chapter 6.
Whoo, Chile.
But your auntie actually snatched that up.
Mm-hmm,
all right. But moving on. That was good. That was good.
That was a free nugget. See?
Explain the importance of planning ahead.
Okay, first of all, by nature, I am a planner.
She literally has her planner.
I have my planner on the table. I just got this as a gift today. So literally, all the stuff that was in my old planner, I transferred over to this one. Sidebar.
2 more months left in 2019, and she's already planning for 2020, baby.
Period. So, like, even though we're talking about long-term planning,
yes,
day-to-day planning is essential.
For sure.
I don't want to waste any more time. What I did last year, I started planning in September of last year for 2019. And almost everything on my vision board, I've either started,
say that,
or completed.
Say that.
And the only thing that's not completed is because I'm getting my money right. So, and that'll probably hit 2020. So, I am a firm believer of planning. You know, even if you got a plan, okay, I'm going to get up in the morning, I'm going to pray, I'm going to set the tone for my day, I'm going to do whatever. You made a conscious decision to, you know, start your day out with prayer. You made a conscious decision to do whatever it took to get you to the next step in your life. And I feel like, you know, planning is something that it comes with discipline. Mm-hmm. And, you know, what helps me is, you know, this cute planner. I'm like, wow, this planner's cute. I gotta write in it. That's what does it for me. And it's just like, wow, I make sure I put it in my purse. I won't forget it. You know, so even though we want to do long-term planning, I think we definitely have to start on a smaller scale of day-to-day planning.
Start where you can.
Start where you can.
Don't overwhelm yourself.
Don't overwhelm yourself, but get you a plan. Start journaling out what you would like to do. Write the vision, make it plain. And I've learned. You
know what? Something just got dropped in my spirit. I want to give out a free planner. So whoever comments at this mark right here, I'm giving away a cute planner.
Y'all better get y'all cute planner, y'all.
So comment. What should they comment?
Poshy's planner.
Poshy's planner.
Poshy's planner.
And we're gonna hook you up with the free planner.
Period. I'm with it.
Period.
I'm with it.
All right, and I always say that's really good. So you just practical steps, planning for the day-to-day, and once you develop that habit, you'll get into the month-to-month and then the year-to-year.
Yeah.
I always say this, what is not carefully considered will cease to sustain.
I like that.
And so I wrote that in the book, and that has helped me. Yeah. I deeply consider everything, and as Nipsey Hussle said, I think he said something along the lines of, can't sleep unless I dot my I's, cross my T's.
Cross my T's, okay?
Yeah.
Gotta cross my T's and dot my I's or I can't sleep well.
And I pretty much, that's synonymous to how I take on life. I don't feel right if I'm not for sure that it is right down to the kernel of the purpose. Like, did I do it right? Is it going to be executed to its fullest potential?
My uncle used to sing a song because he is a boy dad, and he used to sing, if you don't do it right the first time, you're going to have to come back and do it again. Might as well do it right. And I'm just
may as well do it right the first time.
You might as well do it right.
Take your time.
Because you got to do it anyway.
For me, the importance of planning ahead is super important. Mm-hmm. But for me, I would say I do it on definitely the long-term scale. Mm-hmm. So I'm 24, unwed, single, no kids, but I probably think about how I will assume my responsibilities in those institutions almost daily. Mm-hmm. So I know for me that I strongly believe that.
So mature.
Well, thank you. I strongly believe that kids need structure. So I'm always thinking, you know, as I'm maturing, when God blesses me to become a mother, in what ways can I provide a healthy structure so my kids can grow up to be productive citizens in society? What type of domestic environment do I need to provide so they are excelling and they are holistic human beings, spiritually developed, academically excelling? Like on Monday nights in my house when I get married, I want to do family literacy night. So we'll sit around the table and we'll read a book. Now that's how it's going to go in my mind. But you know, my husband might be like, girl, if you don't get out of here.
What are you thinking? Mondays are my me nights. So leave that at that.
You know, I'm always thinking ahead, planning, you know, what type of kids do I want? What type of house do I want to give my kids? What type of schooling do I want to be able to afford to give them? Do I want to send them to private school and make sure that they are, immersed in public social settings? I really don't want my kids to just be like half developed, you know what I mean?
Yeah,
like just the private school, they don't got no swag, they tone deaf to their privileges. So I'm always thinking about what neighborhood can I raise them in, you know, thinking about it in terms of my husband. For me, when I'm out there hunting or whatever, I don't just look at a guy like, oh, he's cute, I want him. It's like,
I need
is
the
he gonna be a good
package,
father?
Sir.
Full package.
Full package.
What type of father is he going to be? Because that's important.
Absolutely.
The family unit is the all-important unit in society, I believe.
Absolutely.
So if you are married to someone that doesn't have the same vision, that doesn't believe in your same parenting style, or they don't even prioritize the importance of doing family,
we're not even going to get past...
We're not
getting.
How are you gonna knock down those generational curses? So for me, it's like wanting to marry someone that wants to tackle those generational curses and those generational disadvantages and tackle the generational unpreparedness that has been present, especially in my family, year after year after year to come. So when I'm planning ahead, you know, I'm thinking about, is this man gonna be a good father? You know, is this man going to be able to rear and lead a household in a way that is going to be well for the all-important family unit. So for me, that's the way, I mean, that's probably very intense, but that's the way that I assume my dutiful shift of now. In my youth, while I'm young, while I'm energetic, while I have the ambition, while I am young, what the heck am I doing with my time? Because I mean, posting cute Instagram pictures, that's cute. You know, it's a moment.
That's cute.
But how is that gonna give my kids any assets?
Now, my plan is to use the social media, monetize it, but
it's a tool.
It's a tool.
It's not the destination.
Absolutely not. Absolutely not.
So, all right, let's see. Last question. When you look at the state of Black people, do you feel sympathetic to their struggles?
Lord help my people. It's a case by case.
Okay.
And I, you know, it's case by case, but I also, and people always say, people like you are a part of the problem.
Oh, what they say that for?
Because I feel like I pay attention, but I also don't let it cripple me. I'm in a space where I don't care what, not that I don't care, but I don't care what's going on over here because I'm over here trying to set some new standards. I'm over here trying to break the mold. So I don't care what was said before or done before because I'm not living by that standard. So it doesn't bother me because it's like I'm working on getting past that. We ain't even gonna have to worry about that. And the people around me are on the same type of time. So it's kind of like, you know, we ain't worried about, you know, not even the struggles of Black people because we care, you know, we rooting for everybody Black.
Okay,
me, okay? But like seriously, I'm very indifferent about the situation because, you know, a lot of times we as Black people, we play the pity card. We play, you know, everything's not a race matter. Everything is not, did you work hard for it? Like, and I would ask, it doesn't matter if you're pink, blue, orange, green. Did you work for it? Nobody's giving you anything. So I'm very indifferent,
Yeah.
but yet so passionate about
And I
it.
love it. I love it. And you know, your sentiments, it made me think about Tyler Perry's BET Award speech when he won, I think it was Icon Award, the Icon Award. And he said, while y'all was over there worried about Oscars so white, I went down to Atlanta to build my own table while y'all was busy trying to get a seat at theirs.
And that's how I feel.
And look at his turnout.
I'm
330 acres.
I'm so happy for him. Like, I'll probably never meet that man.
A Confederate base. Now it's owned by one Negro, as he said in his own words.
I love it.
He did it.
I love it. And set your own. Get out here and break the mold. You know, we breaking the glass ceiling. There's no need
the
to
dutiful
stay.
shift of now.
The dutiful shift of now. Like I think
no,
that's.
Finish what you were gonna say.
There's no need to stay where you are. Don't get complacent. Don't worry about what's happened in the past. It doesn't matter what your grandparents went through. You know, we gonna do it for Granny. We gonna do it for Granddaddy. We gonna make sure, you know, that the family and everybody else that's sown into you, and even everybody in the generations to come, we setting the tone.
We setting the tone. We're not gonna be the borrowers. We're gonna be the lenders.
Absolutely.
Okay. I literally have that on my debt to destiny board. You know, and posing the same question to myself. Do I feel sympathetic to the state that Black people are in? Much like you, yes and no. I think it would be painfully idiotic to say that Blacks and people of color don't have real problems being marginalized in society. When you think about mass incarceration, when you think about deindustrialization, when you think of police brutality, real people are targeted, real families are affected. There's real systematic intimidation in place to keep certain people who fit certain profiles as the permanent underclass in society. Yes, I understand all of that, but like you said, you cannot use that as a cushion to slouch on to justify your lack of efforts.
Right.
You have to keep fighting.
Absolutely.
Because for me in college, I would have to be honest right now and say, and this is no shade to my family, not at all, but there were moments of deep resentment when I wondered, why in the hell did nobody work hard enough to show me the way? I hated being the first one having to endure that path, break down that door, because it was lonely and it felt like the weight of the world on my shoulders. At times it was like, yes, I'm happy to be setting the bar. I'm happy to be pioneering this.
It gets draining.
But then after a while it got draining and I became resentful, feeling like I wish that I had the support of other people doing it before me, so I would know how it's done. I would have the cheat sheet. I would have the instruction. The trail would have been blazed and it would have been an easy walk for me.
I like that.
And when I realized that that's not my case, that will never be my case, there were times where I was very resentful, even towards the people that I love most, for not doing it, especially when I would look back and see them chilling. And what I mean by that, it's like not even really taking their own situation seriously, not really going full force, not having a robust work ethic to dig themselves out of the hole. That made me very upset as well, because it felt like they were comfortable with what life gave them. And while I was aware that there really are real disadvantages for Blacks, there was another part of me that felt like, all right, while there is public policy that may police you into horrible conditions, you also have a personal policy that you can practice and discipline yourself to make sure that you can rise above.
Absolutely.
So, yes, I am sympathetic, but at the same time, I believe in personal policy. Yeah. And even when you think of, you know, the history of our ancestors, there were slaves, as Kanye West said, they were probably fearful, and it's not even that they chose slavery, but they were aware of the consequences of going against it, you know? Yes, there were those people that accepted the tradition of their circumstances, but there were those people that said,
they bought themselves out of slavery. Did you know? If you come to Master Builders, you would learn this. But did you know that slaves could purchase themselves out of slavery by working on Sundays. Sundays they would get paid. They could get paid for it. It was much. It took them a while.
They
but
ain't
you
working
could pay.
at Chick-fil-A.
Listen, Chick-fil-A. But no, seriously, like they had that mindset. They was ready to get out here and do what they needed to do.
Yeah. So
it's up to you.
I can't wait to see the comments we're gonna get on that question.
Yeah,
that's.
And I said what I said.
We said what
just
we
to be
said.
clear.
And you know, one thing I will closing thoughts. One thing that I did not like about college, or even just scholarship opportunities in period, I love the money, but the guidelines to qualify for the money, I felt that it was very dehumanizing, and I felt like it was very impugning to one's dignity. For scholarship prompts, they ask you the most personal, almost insensitive questions, and it's almost as if they're trying to exploit Black pain to understand who's most deserving of the money. If I'm showing you on my scholarship essay that my family makes less than $40,000 a year, what more do you need to know about the realities of why I need my education paid for?
Right.
But to ask questions that are so deeply personal and so invading, I hated it. And I remember, I kid you not, Dominai, it was senior year, I was in my counselor's office, and I wrote, like a vague essay, like, this is why I need the money to go away to college. Here's why. But it was very vague. I'm a hard worker. I'm disciplined. I have a incremental, student profile showing that I work hard. And when I get to college, I don't plan on failing. That's all you need to know. To me, that's all you needed to know.
Right.
I'm going to use the money for good works.
Right.
You're not going to be disappointed that you invested in me. And he literally said, Lanisha, while this is a good essay, you need to dive deeper and give more personal details.
They want more struggle.
They want more struggle. And it almost feels like exploiting Black pain is the way to go if you want to get recognized or, seen as being deserving as those funds. And I just didn't like that. And that's one thing that I would say that I wish I had the ability to have a parent that could write a check in college. Because, I went to school with people who, parents would come and write $50,000 for the tuition. And I was like, man, I wish that I did not have to go to this scholarship program and give 30 hours of community service. I wish I did not have to be an RA. Imagine if I was just able to give all of my efforts and all of my attention just strictly to my academics. Oh, I would have graduated for sure top of my class in college. So it's real privilege if you're able to go to college and you don't have to be a part of 4 and 5 different extra groups to help pay for school or even explain.
RA life, her room wasn't horrible. Her little mini apartment was super cute.
As a RA,
she left me a towel with notes. I still have that note. I just want to know that.
So I did have my privileges, but I had to work. For me in life, I've always had to work, thug it out, figure it out, and thank God for mentors. Thank God for being plugged into a network that showed me when my family couldn't, this is how you get ahead and get college paid for. Become an RA. And the perk was, though I had to basically be on call at any moment, peer support for the other students around campus, it came with a 3-bedroom apartment, had my own kitchen.
Yeah, it was nice.
So it was dope. And I got to tell other people what to do in the building. So it wasn't that bad. But still, I would say I would have enjoyed just having the chance to just be strictly a student. Yeah. And having tuition paid for by check. With a pen stroke. Yeah. Yes, sir.
Yes, absolutely. Because, listen, I ain't got no worries.
Yeah. So, all right, now it's time to get into our fan feature. The fan feature is where we hear from the audience and they tell us their most recurring greatest life lesson. This week, we are hearing from Stephanie Henry of Indiana. Her greatest life lesson has been this: keep God first and everything else will follow.
Big fact.
What do you think about that, Dominai?
First of all, I'm a church baby, so
yes,
I love the Lord and I won't take it back. So even if you see me out here acting a fool, at the end of the day, I know what it is. I love God, and I truly have seen what not keeping Him first can do. Mm-hmm. Even in the current state that I'm in, I gave up something super important to me because God wanted me to do it. And I knew he wanted me to do it because he sent somebody to tell me. And I'm not saying I wouldn't be having or living a good life had I did what I wanted to do, but I definitely don't think I would have been afforded a lot of the opportunities that I've had since I let that thing go. And don't get me wrong, like I am a firm believer that if you keep God first, you know, my mom always tells me, be faithful to God, he'll be faithful to you. And he's been faithful to me even when I didn't deserve it. He's been good to me. I am nothing without him. And
everybody,
I daily battle with this, you know, not being with me, being a church baby. I battle with this daily, feeling like I failed him. And because that's something I desire to do is, you know, keep him first and be the example that I know he's called me to be. So I'm a firm believer in that. I think that's good.
Yeah, you
good, Stephanie. That you talking good, sis.
Yeah, she's a tremendous woman of faith. Stephanie, she's a tremendous woman of faith. Like, when we became friends, I was like, I need to step up my game because she's dope. Yeah. And that's one thing that I've actually been prayerful about is having more women of faith centered around me, so I can vibrate on their level. You feel me?
I'm struggling, y'all.
Yeah, you struggle sometimes, especially being a millennial. Listen, because I feel like we live in a time that pushes back against and questions religion and God and the relevancy of it. You know, it's very real. So definitely what I think about Stephanie's life lesson, most definitely keep God first and everything else will follow. I have made it my goal to wake up at, if you know me, you know I don't wake up early if it's not about my money. So getting out of bed every day at 5 to sit down and talk to God has really, and I know people say it all the time, like, oh, I heard God talk to me. And I know what people think. Like, when I went to school, I studied philosophy. People would always say, you know, religion is just the opiate of the masses. Like, it's blind leadership, you know. But truly, I can say, as a believer, when you grow in your faith, you do become sensitive to when God is talking to you, when he's sending someone to you, and when he is intentional about wanting you to do something. I have found that when you keep God first, and what that means by that is before you wake up and you instinctively grab your phone, put the phone down. Thank you, God. Acknowledging him first. Thank you for waking me up, God.
I'm rolling out the bed. I don't even have my glasses on. Thank you, God, for waking me up. That's the first thing that leaves my mouth every single day. It does not matter. I don't care how I feel. I've been doing this for years. For years. And I won't not do it.
And as you said, definitely growing in my faith is something that I definitely find room each day. You know, I can be better in doing. But I can definitely say with all of my heart, keeping God first in my life has opened up doors for me that I did not deserve, that I would have never suspected. And you can't do life without God.
Absolutely. Try it if you want to.
You cannot do life
without God.
Try it if you want to. It's not going to turn out well for you.
You're going to be pulling your hair out of something crazy.
Keep God first in all things.
Absolutely.
In all things.
In all things.
All right. Dominai, thank you so much for being here. You are so courteous. You're so brilliant. Thank you you came here straight after work. And you've been here a while, so thank you so much.
It's all good. Thank you for having me. Y'all,
absolutely. Buy
her book, subscribe to all her videos. Since I've met Lanisha, she's just been a wealth of knowledge. She's been so sweet to me. Y'all, I love her. I wholeheartedly support everything that she does. Like, there's some things that we've talked about that she's got in the works that she wants to do. And I'm rooting for her. So y'all.
So what if we have to collaborate? She came to Urban Girls Rock this summer.
Oh yeah, I did.
And those girls are a blast.
Oh, them girls is funny, y'all.
They are funny.
Y'all need to get involved with the youth because let me tell you something. Y'all, them babies. To this day, I'm still laughing about some things.
Yes, girl. Yes, girl. We gonna get off the video.
Yeah, cause y'all.
So So next week we will be discussing chapter 6, which is Use Your Youth Wisely. Please be sure to tune in next Thursday at 8 p.m. We only have 2 more episodes for you guys on this series of life lessons and lattes. Once again, thank you so much for watching. I love you guys, and as always, I will see you next week.